Hi everyone. Nah, screw that. Merry Christmas, everyone. It's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. We are just a little over 3 hours, technically, from Christmas Day here in the UK. Australia, you're already balls deep. Probably not the best phrase to use in the festive season. Hey, do you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to edit the video. Let's just go. Let's just go with it. Let's just run with it. Let's just see what happens. Let's just see what happens, you and me. Let's just see what happens. Australia, yeah, and all that. Southern Hemisphere. Merry Christmas to all you guys and gals and stuff. What better way to spend Christmas Eve? And I'm going to stream after this as well. I'm going to wrap some presents up. So I'm going to stream after this video. So if you watch this video, jump over to my stream. I might be there. Just say Merry Christmas. What better way on Christmas Eve than to talk about Star Wars? Fucking Star Wars! Talking about Star Wars! Please shut up about Star Wars. Even I am sick of Star Wars. Like, totally sick of it. But, as we all know, a few days ago, what was it? The Rise of the Skywalkers released the final film. No, episode 9 in the Skywalker saga. Who cares? Well, guess what? Not many people. Not many people by the looks of it. So, look, there's been a lot of discussion about this latest Star Wars film. Cards on the table. I ain't seen it. I don't want to. And it's not some sort of pompous boycotting of the Star Wars franchise or anything like that. I just legitimately don't give a shit. I don't. After The Last Jedi, which I thought was an absolute pile of tripe, I just don't care. I don't care about the characters. There's been nothing that has connected me to them. There has been nothing that has made me want to care about any of them. And so I don't give a hoot. I really don't. So when this film comes around, and that's amazing, because Star Wars was my thing as a kid and all that. And I've been through this many times, so I'm not gonna tread over this old ground. But it's just amazing that I could feel this way about the Star Wars franchise. But thankfully, it's not over for me, because I've got The Mandalorian, and The Mandalorian is fantastic, even if it's just got one episode left. Baby Yoda, I love you, PewDiePie. You will not eat Baby Yoda. I will make sure of that. I will find you. So, Rise of Skywalker releases at the cinema. We've had the opening weekend now, and before it released, projections were that it was going to do 225 million opening weekend. Oh, it's going to open up to a massive, massive weekend. 225 millions of the dollars. It's a lot. A lot domestically on release, that's insane. There's not many films that have done better. Not many films. 2 other Star Wars films, but, not many films have done better. So anyway, the Friday comes, the Friday release comes, it takes $90 million domestically. And then suddenly it's just like, Star Wars on course for massive $195 million opening weekend. And it's just like, oh, hey, Hi, I'm Az from HeelvsBabyface, and I have a question. My question is, what happened to $30 million? Don't worry about that, son. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We're going to keep the narrative of massive, great, fantastic, but we're just going to lower the total by a significant amount, by $30 million. Don't worry about it, sunshine. Okay. Then the weekend box office has come in, and it took $175 million. So it came in 20 million short of the expectations after the first of the 3 weekend days, which came in short $50 million from the projected amount. Now, this, of course, is the third-party This is the outside's projection, based off pre-sale tickets, based off what they deem to be hype, and all that sort of stuff. Disney, well, they projected 165 million, which I have to say right now is bollocks, right? They absolutely, complete and utterly lowballed, and lowballed by a significant margin. And I'll get into why momentarily. I mean, why they lowballed by so much. Because they realised, with all the backlash from The Last Jedi, with all the backlash from the supposed leaks, the reshoots, the multiple endings, the editing still going on up to 2 weeks before release of the actual film, that it might turn a significant amount of people off. People like me, who just don't give a shit anymore. Don't care. And when The Force Awakens came out... Sorry, I have to put this in now. When The Force Awakens come out... Yorkshireman's coming out of me there. When Force Awakens come out, right? When The Force Awakens came out, I didn't just go see The Force Awakens. I saw it twice. I saw it on release, and then I saw it a few days later in 3D in a much fancier cinema where we got beautiful leather seats that reclined and stuff like that. Ooh, posh like, innit? Got myself the 3D glasses from the cinema. There was one in Kylo Ren's helmet, and there was one in Stormtrooper helmet. Gave the Stormtrooper one to my brother because he's a massive fan of the Stormtrooper aesthetic. And I went out and I bought all the figures. True. I went out and I bought all the figures. Maybe not all of them, but I got a bloody load of them. Because it's like, oh, Star Wars, let's just get them, get the figures, pack them away. Who knows? In 30 years' time, they might be ready for the landfill. And now, I'm here going, I can't even be asked to go to the cinema and watch it. That is significant, people. That is significant. Anyway, so Disney lowball to 165 million. That's their prediction, which is utter bollocks. So, to put it in some sort of perspective, folks, worldwide, it takes $373 million on opening weekend. That is insane. It's a colossal amount of money. Don't get me wrong. It's a ridiculous amount of money. It's right up there. You know, it's up there. It's crazy. But, excuse me, I've just woken up from a nap. But, you have to compare it to the other Star Wars films. And The Last Jedi, on its opening weekend, took worldwide $437.5 million. Okay, so that is just a mere 60+ million less. And then The Force Awakens took $494 million on opening weekend. Over 120, well, basically 120, just slightly shy, actually, of 120 million more. And that's over the course of 3 days. So the decline from The Force Awakens to The Rise of the Skywalker is insane. It's massive. Now, let's just immediately address, because there's going to be shills no matter what. It's what happens with every franchise that you love. You come running to the fence, even if you trip up and spill your popcorn everywhere. But as it's the third of a trilogy, people are going to have a bit of fatigue. Of course it's going to drop off. Of course it's going to drop off. What's the highest grossing movie of all time? Oh, it's Avengers Endgame. It's Avengers Endgame. The movie which finished off over 10 years of Marvel films. What's the fifth highest grossing movie of all time? Avengers Infinity War, the first part of the Infinity Saga that released a year before. So these came out within a year of each other. And they are both within the top 5 top grossing movies of all time after 10 years of movies. So no, I'm sorry. You can't hide behind that excuse. You can't call it franchise fatigue, and you can't say, well, it's the third of a trilogy, so yes, of course, less people are going to see it. Avengers ended the strongest of anything after multiple... How many films? 20? 30? I don't know how many there were, all in all. But let's just have a look at the audience reaction, right? Because this is a weird one. And when I say weird one, I mean Rotten Tomatoes is corrupt and lying. It's what I mean, as we'll see momentarily. So Rotten Tomatoes has had the critic score varying. So when I say up and down, it's kind of gone from 53 to 55 to 57 to 58 to 56. It's been fluctuating, but it's stayed around the mid-50s in terms of what the critics gave Rise of Skywalker. Red Letter Media, who we all know, is very famous, and they became famous because of the Mr. Plinkett Star Wars reviews of the prequels. Mike Stacklosser, quote, said, "You don't have to... I'm not saying that you have to have a low IQ to like Rise of Skywalker, but you have to have a low IQ to like Rise of Skywalker." Wow. Now, I know Mike Stacklosser is not the be-all and end-all. He's just a critic amongst many. But that's quite a stern thing to say, even for a comedy channel. But what is very, very weird about the Rotten Tomatoes score is the audience score. Now, is it weird because it's so high? And actually, the audience loves it. This is great. We loves it. We loves it. We loves it. No. It's the fact that this has always varied. 56, 57, 54, 58. This, since it came out, has not budged from 86. 86, 86, 86, 86, 86. It's just stayed 86. Now, that's ridiculously consistent, don't you think? So let's just compare it, let's say, with Metacritic. And what's the Metacritic score? Well, the critics have given it 54, which kind of comes in line with the 56 from Rotten Tomatoes. But what's the Metacritic user score? 5.1. So the Metacritic critic score and user score are actually very, very similar indeed. Now, yes, there are more that have voted on this, and this is not exact science. This is, of course, is meager speculation. But this seems very odd that it hasn't changed, and this is completely different. Whereas the critic score has remained consistent. It's been a fluctuating film. There's no denying that whatsoever. People have had their opinions. My friend came back and texted me this morning and said, I thought it was all right. I thought it was all right. And then I've heard people go, God, this is just the messiest of messes. Absolute messiest of messes to try and retcon a lot of stuff from The Last Jedi, to try and cram two films into one, literally sort of push A Last Jedi to one side, kind of make a middle film at the start of this film, and then try and end it. I was never, like I said, I was never particularly interested, but as soon as they mentioned Palpatine was back, I was totally out the equation. Totally out the equation. Why would I want to go see a film where they just absolutely retcon the ending of Return of the Jedi? One of the best endings. Vader's sacrifice. Luke seeing constantly and always seeing, fuck you, Rian Johnson, the goodness within his father, even though he committed so many horrendous atrocities throughout his life. So that was just retconned, just to get Palpy back, to do a bit of... So, yeah, that was me checking out. So, in terms of where Star Wars is, there's no denying with the take, there's no denying with the fluctuation that it is well below expectations. If you are a Star Wars fan, I will give you a silver lining here, okay? This is Christmas time. There is nothing else coming out. So, for week 2, Star Wars has an opportunity to remain relatively consistent instead of having a colossal 50-60% drop, which we see from a lot of big budget franchise films. Because after Christmas, Boxing Day, 27th, whenever you want to go to the flicks with your family, you've probably got Star Wars or Cats. And right now, I would if I was going to go and see Cats, I'd probably pay for Star Wars. I paid for Star Wars, but I saw Cats. I ain't giving that money. Cats, by the way, which took, I think, 6.8 million on its opening weekend, and has already had another version of the film rushed to the cinemas with alleged better CGI. But there's no denying Star Wars is lost its mystique, it's lost its charm. Even though it's done colossally, and I'm not taking that away, it's nowhere near where it was performing. People are tired. They just want this to go away. For me, the way that The Mandalorian is being so successful is the fact that The Mandalorian is only using the aesthetic of Star Wars as a vessel to tell very simple stories. And very clever, and that's the cleverness of it, as opposed to trying to Star Wars itself up, which sounds bizarre, but there you go. So yes, in terms of box office, this is real bad news for Disney. The silver lining is there's no competition for week 2, so they might do a much better weekend than they would have done. But that said, if they do have a huge drop off in week 2, now, I'm absolutely positive this is going to soar over $1 billion, but is it going to hit the 2 billion mark? I don't think so. Is it going to hit the 1.5 billion mark? I think it's going to struggle. I really do. I think it's going to struggle. And with all the kerfuffle in purchasing Disney Star Wars for 4.1 billion or whatever it was, and for what's been going on with things like Solo being an absolute flop and losing them hundreds of millions, probably $200 to $300 million. That's how much it genuinely lost the company. Things aren't looking particularly good, and it might be worth just putting Star Wars on the back burner for now until you've actually got a plan. That might help. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed the Christmas vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up. Christmas vid, that is just so bollocks. And also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.